You can't just look at mutual fund by looking at past performances. That is the biggest mistake most of the investors make today. Investing is always about long term. This is a serious myth.
Like for a 1 year goal, what is the kind of mutual fund that one should go into? What's your framework?
Anything which is less than 1 year, that's where you can afford to take slight calculative risk. And there is one beautiful category in mutual fund which is it's a magic.
How did you plan the right mutual fund for the right goal?
I would like to literally ask your viewers to take a notepad today.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them a roadmap how they can look at mutual fund. The first advice is going to be very, very contrary, and I'm sure viewers will like it, but your parents will not like it.
Post 2016, have been working as a mutual fund distributor, and you've been working with so many clients, right? So you have insights of not just your journey, but also thousands of people that you work with when it comes to mutual funds. So first, I want to understand, on your portfolio, what does your portfolio look like today, and how is it composed across different asset classes?
Bulk of our investments is in mutual funds.
Okay.
So how we have done, how we have designed our portfolio now, we have separated our goals into two. One is we say that this is all core goals,
Okay.
which I have two daughters. So their graduation, post-graduation, marriage, our own retirement, buying a house, these are all core goals.
Okay.
And then we have a satellite goals, which is like buying a car, going for a vacation. So this we term as a satellite goal.
Okay.
Now, why we say satellite is because we feel that these are important, but at least not time bounded. So for example, if I want to plan a holiday, I can always prepone or postpone it by X amount of duration. Same thing for buying a car, same thing for everything that is like satellite, like buying a phone and all.
Right.
But I can't postpone or prepone my daughter's education, the fees and all.
Right.
Same
Needs
thing.
and wants
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
differentiation.
So what we did, once we knew that okay, these are the goals and these are the timeline by which we need to meet those goals, we exactly did a reverse calculation. And then whatever amount was required to feed that core goals, we converted all that investment savings into mutual funds. So all our core goals are now getting catered through mutual funds.
Okay.
And all my satellite goals are now getting catered to different avenues. Like stocks
Okay.
is again a bulk of our investments. Certain portion goes into cryptos, global PMS. These days there is a lot of excitement for FANG kind of stocks like Facebook, Apple, Google and Amazon and all.
Right.
So I have exposure in global equities as well
Okay.
through a RIA platform.
Okay.
And there are gold mohors, some collectibles, which are looked as an investment, not as a collection, but as
Okay.
investments.
So what percentage? So in your total portfolio, if I like for mutual funds,
So mutual fund would be close to, mutual fund and ULIP put together would be close to around 40% of my portfolio.
okay.
Around 10% would be stocks.
Okay.
Around 20% accidentally or by requirement is in real estate, because I consider my office as my investment.
Okay.
So that is a part of my investment portfolio. Then I have around 15% in a combination of gold, silver, platinum, palladium and cryptocurrencies. So I have few investment in PMS, around 5-6% of my investment.
Oh, okay.
Around another 5-6% in global stocks through direct stocks as well as global PMSs.
Oh, okay.
So this is how I have diversified my investments.
For a retail investor, majority, if it's in mutual funds, it keeps you sorted for a lot of your long-term goals, which is also the kind of strategy that you also applied, right? Like
Correct.
you said for your core goals, you sort of invested in mutual funds. Whether it was your kids' education or buying a house, etc. So I want to double click more on that. Like for example, for something that was 10 years away from now, like how did you plan the right mutual fund for the right goal? How did you do that?
So here I would just like to differ a bit. I would first like to clear this myth about investing is always about long term. This is a serious myth because this makes things very boring. So today, if I meet investors and tell them, sir, you have to invest for 5 years or 10 years and 15 years, they get pissed off. Okay, I mean, of course, after COVID, this has become very, very serious thing in every individual's life, right? We all want to enjoy our money now as well.
Right.
So today, if I have an investor who is wanting to plan a vacation, let's say 8 months down the line, then I have a mutual fund to cater that goal as well.
Okay.
If there's a businessman. I have around 15-20% people who are businessmen in my clientele. So they have this liquid surplus available, which they themselves don't know when they will require. But because this money is lying idle in their current account and they don't enjoy any interest on current account, we have an option in mutual fund where we park those money in an overnight fund or a liquid fund,
Right.
which at least give them around 4.5%, 5-6% kind of return on investments.
And one thing you mentioned is that there is that myth of, always long term. So there's a mutual fund for even a goal that's 1 year down the line, 3,
Correct.
5. So for our, audience, if you could help break down, like for a 1 year goal, what is the kind of mutual fund that one should go into for 5 year, for 10 year? What's your framework?
So the first and foremost thing people have to understand that you can't just look at mutual fund by looking at past performances. That is the biggest mistake most of the investors make today. Thanks to technology, that things are easily accessible. But the flip side of the technology is that it only says what has happened in past. It doesn't say that past will not repeat in future. And that understanding is missing. So people tend to overlook the other side of the coin, which is risk involved. So I would like to literally ask your viewers to take a notepad today.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them a roadmap how they can look at mutual fund and make sure that it works best in their interest.
Absolutely.
The first and foremost, what they have to do is that, as I said, they have to decide and separate their goals as core goals and critical satellite goals. And then they have to literally pen down. This is like, for example, what we have done. So I have 2 daughters. One is 7-year-old, one is 12-year-old. So I exactly know when they turn 18, that's the time when I will need the fund for their graduation.
Correct.
When they turn 22, I will need the fund for their post-graduation. Around 26, 27, I will plan for their marriage. And by 55 of my age, I am intending to get retired. So this timeline I know. Now what second thing I will do is how much budget I should plan for. So as an average, today we know that if we want to pursue a decent graduation, qualification and all, in Indian context, we need around 25 to 50 ka range mein. So we have chosen to, on a higher side because luckily we are blessed with cash flows and all. So let's say 50 lakhs is what I require today. If I were to make my daughter pursue some qualification, but that is somewhere 8 years down the line. So I will then have to factor the inflation. So after inflation, let's say it's becoming 85 lakhs. So I know now 8 years from now, I may need 85 lakhs. So I do a reverse maths. कि अगर मुझे 85 lakhs जमा करना है, and if I expect my investment to grow at 12% compounding, then what kind of monthly investment will I have to make, or what kind of one-time lump sum investment will I have to make?
Correct.
Now, if that amount comes in your reach, whether it through SIP or through your one-time investment range, you know that, okay, goal 1
This
tick.
goal done.
Likewise, when you have 7-8 goals listed, which are all your core goals, do this reverse maths. First, give time to it, amount to it, and add inflation and do a reverse maths. Then you will exactly know for goal 1, this much amount you need to do monthly, and this much one time. Monthly, one time, monthly, one time. And the end of the table, you will know that, okay, on a month, if I do a 4 lakhs worth of SIP, all my goals get catered. And if I make a lump sum amount of say X amount, all my goals get catered. So any goals which are less than 3 years, you should make sure that your investment is not linked to any high volatile asset classes, which is equity as an asset class, which is cryptos, which is personal lending, high credit risk papers. All those things are to be naturally filtered out because you know that you may need this amount of money in 3 years. Anything which is between 3 to 5 years, you can bring mixer. Like for example, if I have to talk about mutual fund as a category, then for your first goal, which is less than 3 years, I will further break it down. Anything which is less than 1 year, you should restrict all your investments either to arbitrage fund or a liquid or a ultra short duration funds, low duration fund.
Okay.
Any goals which are between 1 to 3 years, that's where you can afford to take slight calculative risk. And there is one beautiful category in mutual fund, which is equity savings fund.
Okay.
So this equity savings fund, it's a magic. What it does is it can try to give you a equity like return. If equity, like for example, since COVID till now, equity had a one-time rally since September 2024, right?
Yeah.
Even those kind of fund gave you 14% return.
Okay.
in that kind of time frame where equity was going one side up.
Okay.
So at least you will not have that left out feeling when you are invested in equity savings fund.
This framework is actually very helpful, Vishesh. Thanks for sharing this. And on your portfolio, right? What's your portfolio composition in mutual funds? Like how much is large cap? How much is small cap? Like how do you manage it?
So around 30-40% of your investment should go into multi-asset funds, where you need to have an investment horizon of 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Then around 30% of your portfolio should be in flexi cap and multi cap ka combination.
Okay.
So 20 arbitrage and equity savings,
Right.
around 30-40 multi-asset, 30 around flexi cap, and last 10% you can take small cap or you can take a thematic advantage fund.
Okay.
Today there is a new category launched, business cycle or a momentum, whatever suits your risk appetite.
More experimental, risky
Yes.
kind of thing.
I would not say experimental, but whatever suit your style.
And Vishesh, we often talk a lot on keep selecting the right fund, but we also see from our audience and our app users keep exiting fund is also important. Like, what's your view? And have you sold a mutual fund? How should a retail investor go about selling a mutual fund if it's not the right one for him? We often get stuck in like एक fund में invested और फिर forever उसमें invested रहते हैं. What's your?
So there are 3-4 key elements. The first and foremost, as I always want investors to practice, is link your investments to time goals that you have timed. That will make your job very easy, because you know one thing for sure कि मैंने अगर 3 साल के गोल के लिए पैसा लगाया है तो by default मेरे को ऐसा कोई नौबत आएगा ही नहीं कि within 3 years I will have to forcefully exit from a fund. So that will filter almost 50% of your work. The second trigger should be looking at the fund managers. So every mutual fund has a history of style of work, and that style of work will be either the process and system that they would have built, and that ultimately is built by one individual or 2 individuals, okay, or their research team. If you find there is a major movement, like for example, Prashant Jain of HDFC Mutual Fund, he was considered as a godfather when it comes to mutual fund as an investments, okay, and then he retired or he decided to take a pre-retirement. Then that's the time you can start monitoring his managed fund actively.
Okay.
If you see that ki first quarter after his exit, second quarter after his exit, there is no major volatility. The fund is continuing to do similarly. There is no major up and down. Then you can stay invested.
Okay.
But moment you find there is a sharp move after someone's exit for 2-3 continuous quarter, then there is a trigger that you should look out of that particular fund. And the last, in spite of all this checklist getting ticked, if somehow a particular fund is not consistently doing well for 3 years,
3 years.
then that's a trigger. Because see, 1-2 years may go bad. That doesn't mean that particular fund is bad or that particular fund manager is bad. But if continuously 3 years something is not working well, then there should be necessary some concerns which has not got addressed. Then it's better that since you are spoiled with options, you can look for some other better performing fund. So this is 4 or 5 triggers one should keep in mind.
Lots of learnings on mutual funds, Vishesh. I think lots to learn. I'll move to the second part of the portfolio. It's a big chunk. It's real estate, and also because your financial journey also started when you bought a house. So, and home buying is like a sort of bucket list for every Indian here. So if you were to advise to, a 30-year-old out there looking for buying his or her first house, what would that advice be?
The first advice is going to be very, very contrary. And I'm sure viewers will like it, but your parents will not like it. So I am also born in a Indian customs and traditions. And we all have been taught by our parents that the first and foremost thing what you have to do in your life is buy property for yourself. So my first advice to your viewers will be, don't jump into buying a house when you are beginning your career. Invest everything that you are earning after spending compulsory wala expenses. Whatever you are left out, just invest. Allow that money to grow. Allow yourself to enjoy the benefit of compounding. We all say, right, 8 wonder of world, compounding. But unfortunately, because we are falling trap of loan and EMI in our initial career, we are never able to enjoy the benefit of compounding. So first decision I would request that you should have a serious discussion with your parents and convince them I am not in inclination to buy house now, but I have all the due respect of your sentiments and emotions that I will buy shelter for myself in a later date. But I'm making a commitment to you and myself that because I'm not buying a house, which will help me not to service EMI, that portion of money I will convert into SIP and allow myself to build a wealth for myself. Now, this will give you two advantages. First, that your loan, what you are going to service, means your money which is going to be servicing your EMI, that is under 8% because average home loan is around 8.5%.
Right.
And if you don't buy a house, which means you don't service a EMI, that same amount you will invest in a mutual fund, which has a likelihood of at least making 12% return. So straight away, every year, your money will be compounded more by 4%.
Yeah.
And that 4% compounding over, so typically by rule of 72, if you divide a number, what the return on investment, what they are going to make by number 72, that's the number of years it will take your money to double, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm saying 12. So 72 divided by 12,
6.
which means every 6 years my money gets double. Now typical home loan is 20 years. Average home loan duration is 20 years.
Yeah.
Which means I am going to witness 3 compounding. 100 becoming 200, 200 becoming 400 and 400 becoming 800. Now the same house at the end of 20 years, if not at 1 crore, you would still be able to buy at 2 crores or maybe 2.5 crores.
And like, because you service 2 home loans, right? 2 big home loans. Any tips and advices for servicing home loans?
The first and foremost thing is to understand your CIBIL score. Because everything will be linked to your CIBIL score. So the one with a lower CIBIL score will get a lesser amount. One with a very good CIBIL score will get a higher amount. That is one advantage. The second advantage is rate of interest. The lesser CIBIL score wala will be offered at more higher interest, and the better CIBIL score wala will be offered at a lower interest rate. So that's the another advantage if you have a good CIBIL track record. And this can't be built overnight. It has to be a journey. So your credentials will be seen for years to come out with a CIBIL score of yours. That is one thing what one has to keep in mind. The second thing is that you have to go deep in understanding the charges. And again, there are 2 forms of availing a loan. One is fixed interest, one is a floating interest. I would strongly advise in India per se at least to go for a floating interest rate. Because India there is an anticipation that interest rates are further likely to go down. So there is a potential that
at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and because your loan is a long-term product, it's a 20-year product. So naturally we expect that interest rate may come further down. So if that is the case, then floating will make sense.
Okay.
Because floating will adjust that rate. So today if you are availing a loan at 9% and say next 10 years may 9% come down to 8%, your loan will be also at 8%. In fixed interest rate, it remains 9% throughout the term. The third thing is the charges, as I mentioned. So apart from interest, what we are going to service on a monthly basis, upfront charges are basically, they do a site visit to check the area and location and all. So there are charges for those. Then there is paperwork charges and main paperwork and all. Franklin charges are there. Certain, they make some agreement and all. So there are 5-6 variety of charges that they charge.
Okay.
You have, if your credit score is good and you know for sure that I may get 10 banks in line to offer me a loan, then you can always just say and negotiate.
Okay.
If ICICI is offering me this, SDFC is offering me this. If you are offering me better than this, then only I'll avail. Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to ICICI. And the last thing is that these days, RBI and SEBI both have made a regulation that is more to do with RBI that anyone who is availing a loan should always compulsory go for a insurance.
Okay.
Now here again there is a catch.
It's compulsory?
Yeah, it's compulsory.
Okay.
There is a catch here. If you go with the same bank for an insurance, there is a likelihood they may charge you a higher premium.
Okay.
So there again you have an option to negotiate. SDFC Life is offering me life cover at this cost. ICICI is offering me this. Policy Bazaar is offering me this. Can you lower this?
Okay.
And there's a significant amount of room there also.
Wow.
So this is how you can negotiate for your insurance also.
Got it. I think perfect note to end this podcast. Thank you so much for sharing all these learnings. This was super helpful.
I hope it is helpful.